so much. It's such, I'm so happy, so happy to be here today. And for me, I just love to be able to, it's the last day and we're rounding up. So I'm really happy about this opportunity to tell my story as well. And I'm sure that a lot of us would see a lot of similarities in what all the other guest speakers, amazing people, have said all through the week. So you want to know about my story. So I'm going to be telling you my story. And as I'm telling the story, I'll be drawing points that I feel that we should all note. So my journey, as you said, I think you mentioned like growing up and my background and all that. And I think that you're so right, because I believe that when Tara, it was Tara who shared, and somebody asked the question, what in her background made her who she is today? Somebody asked that question. And I absolutely believe that one's environment growing up definitely kind of shapes the person that you become, the leader that you become, the individual that you become, how you relate in the world. And that's where I'm going to start. And that's just imagine me like there, even though I didn't have a bob. So I'm going to start from there. And basically, I'll start with my parents. I grew up in I think Tara also mentioned, it's a bit different though. I grew up with parents who, my father was a senior administrator in the University of Ife. Great Ife to the Ife people on this call. Great Ife, put in the chat, great. He was a senior administrator at the University of Ife. Now, he also was a clergy. He was a clergyman. So he worked in the uni, but then, we had our All Souls Chapel, and he would officiate on Sundays. It was like a part-time thing for him, but he was ordained. I also had a mother who was a headmistress. So when you're saying, when you're looking at me and my siblings, that's the child of a reverend, and then a child of a headmistress. So you would imagine that there were lots of values that we were taught. Moral values, Christian values. From my parents, I learned things like hard work, hard work. Any of my siblings, you would note that about us. Hard work, integrity, discipline, loyalty, all those common values, Christian values, love, caring, we were taught. My mother was something of, our mother was something of a perfectionist. So I grew up saying I will not be a perfectionist, but it taught me excellence. It taught me that really let things be done as the Bible says, decently and in order. I believe excellence is being better tomorrow than you were yesterday. So excellence is not perfection. So I consciously determined that I wasn't going to go into perfection, but excellence. These are values that we learned as children. It definitely has an impact on how I run my business. Integrity, honesty, hard work, discipline. It has an impact on how I run all my businesses. So values, when you talk about the upbringing, I think that was actually very key. Another thing I learned from my dad, he was my first example of leadership. My dad was, he was years ahead of his time. He was a transformational leader, and who is a transformational leader? And that's actually my model of leadership till today. A transformational leader is somebody who inspires, they motivate others to become the best version of themselves. However, they would hold you accountable. They hold you to your goals. They make sure that as they're concerned about you, as they're trying to, ensure personal growth, they're not neglecting the goal. For us at that time, the goal would be finish school, future life skills, finish school, do this and do that. Whatever the goal was, he held us with. He held us accountable. I can never forget my twin brother and I one day, we went to a party at quarters in Ife, and our deadline was 10
mm,
o'clock. We got home 10:15. We were grounded for the next God knows how many, with no more parties. So he held us accountable. And that's where I learned
yeah.
my main style of leadership, where I truly, truly care about my people. I truly care about them, but I will hold you accountable to the organizational goals. I would hold you accountable. I want everyone that works with me to become the best version of themselves. I learned it from my dad. He was an ethical leader. He was a pastor, he was a
Mm,
reverend, he was in the Anglican church, he was a reverend. He was very, he wasn't, you won't see him doing all this rubbish around. He was a lifelong learner. I learned that from him. My dad did his master's, maybe, I don't even know, maybe in his 40s, maybe then I was so young, maybe it was like in his 40s or 50s. And today I am a lifelong
mm,
learner. I made sure if
mhm,
my daddy got a master's, I had to go above that to get my PhD, which I started at the age of 48, when people would have finished their
mm,
PhDs in their 20s or 30s. He modeled
mm,
lifelong learning to me. And I think Mr. Okere mentioned that yesterday. Learning, are we learners? So these are some things that I
mm,
learned from my parents. I'll quickly talk about my environment, the environment in which I grew up. Honestly, so it's not just my family, my home. I learned a lot from my environment. University of Ife was just a beautiful place. For those quarters, my people here, it was just beautiful. We had hills, we had flowers, we had a lake. It was just awesome. I'm sorry, the
mm,
people who are in OAU now, you got the short end of the stick. It was just beautiful. And I'm thinking, I'm sure people are thinking, oh, what has that got to do with? Honestly, till today, that has influenced anywhere I am. When you come
mm,
into my organizations, you will see order, you will see structure, you will see beauty, you would see things in place, an eye for detail, that it actually influences the culture of your organization. Because when everything is in place, everybody understands that there's order here. The
mm,
atmosphere is different because there's an atmosphere that is just peaceful. There's a sense of peace. When you have flowers in the organizations I run, I love flowers. Tara, yesterday I was telling
mm.
her that I just love the flowers behind you. I just love
Yeah,
flowers.
nature.
I love
Mm,
nature. And that actually, it just creates this welcoming, uplifting environment. So I learned from that from my environment as well. So my values are from growing up, the environment in which I grew up. Honestly, I struggled in Lagos when I moved to Lagos. So this, you see, you have your house, even in VI and everything. I just had a little bit of, I needed to do a bit of adjusting. And then I would also say that another innate value that I have, again, all these things I'm trying to my values and how it helps me as a leader and things people can learn from. I have always had this thing in me about fairness. I
mm,
I just need people to be fair to me, be fair to others. I have a picture. I wish I had it here. We were five, my twin brother and I, we were turning five, and we were about to cut
mhm.
our cake, and we both had our knives. And there was my twin brother, almost like monopolizing the space for the cutting of the cake. You would have seen a picture. I had my knife held up like this, like a weapon, as if you don't move. Just give me space as well. my
Yeah.
sister, my sister, one of them, will say to you, I remember days because I was the last. I was the last of six, and I'm the girl. I remember then I
Mm,
would be in the living room, gisting, talking, and because I'm the last and quite young, they'll be gisting. And one day I remember just being in the kitchen. I would have to go to the kitchen to cook. And I remember one day saying, you know what? I went to them very boldly. That is not fair. Why are you guys letting me? So I've always had that. Until today, it helps me in my leadership. It helps me. I've
mm,
learned as a Christian to fight less for myself, to let God fight for me. But till today, I
mm,
advocate for people. I just cannot see. things going wrong, and I will look away. And you'll see I'm very later on I'll talk about I'm very much in like involved in like NGOs, non-profit organizations. It's just something that's always been in me. So that's where I would start. When you say I should tell you my story, I feel it's very important to talk about that. Then I'm going to go to the so at each point with each lesson I want to draw some points. So the points I would like to draw there would be, please note everybody, because I'm sure that's why we're here. What are your values? What are your values? You're a business leader, you're a business owner. What are your values? Those values are going to stand as your guardrails. Those are the things that will hold you from not compromising. Those are the things that you might be in an environment and you just feel uneasy because your values don't align. And you know that you can't stay there, you can't work there. So even when we're employing and things like that, you need to think in terms of values. What is your leadership style? I just mentioned mine, transformational leadership. It's very important that we understand leadership. Is your leadership inspirational? Is it motivating? Does it empower? Let us remember, John Maxwell says it all the time, everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything. You must know your style of leadership. You must know how to influence. Leadership is influence. How do I influence people that work with me? You must understand what John Maxwell calls the law of the lid. The leader is like a lid. It's like having a container that has a lid. Nobody can rise beyond that lid. So if you do not develop yourself as a leader, you are doing the people that work with you a lot of disservice. So just rounding up those points there. How did you influence? Aha. Remember that you can actually influence the culture. As I told you, my own environment, who I am, has influenced the culture of my organizations. So how are you influencing the culture of your organization? I mentioned the fact that I'm a learner. Everybody knows me for that. I love learning. Are you a learner? A lot of the other speakers mentioned it. Tara went to LBS. Mrs. Adekwetu talked about, mentoring, the lot of research, learning. Mr. Okere mentioned it. Are you a learner? I find a lot of people trying to lead without trying to study or learn about it. I always liken it to like parents who come to schools and they feel because they studied maths, I know the content that they can teach. The fact that you have the content doesn't mean you know how to teach. That is what teachers are trained to do. We're trained in pedagogy, how to teach, how to meet learners at the point of their needs. You don't have that as a parent. What you have is the content, which, by the way, is everywhere, is online. So it's the same way. It is the same way that people, even in churches, everywhere, they feel you can lead, you lead by anointing. You don't lead by anointing. You learn. Are you a learner? I went back. I don't want to run my school as a lawyer. I went back to study education. The more I then moved into leadership, I went to study leadership. I went to study entrepreneurship. But people want to, you just want to run your business. And then you begin to wonder why things are not working. So those are the points I would like you to remember regarding my growing up. Now, I go to the next bit, which is finding purpose. I struggled with finding purpose. You see, I went into uni at age 15 plus. Don't shout, people. At that time, there was no cutoff like that. By 19 plus, I had finished. And by 20 plus, had gone to law school. And then the journey began because I enjoyed studying law, but I did not enjoy practicing law. I didn't enjoy practicing law. So from 21 to 35, I was searching. What's my purpose? What is my purpose? And talking about purpose, I would like to say that don't despair. If you are here, you are still thinking, what's my purpose? And I'm talking about career purpose. because there's more than one purpose in life. Okay? Career purpose, if you're thinking, what's my purpose? Don't despair. Okay? Some of us, we have found some aspects, but we're developing other aspects. Just keep, studying, understanding yourself, and listen to people. My husband really, really helped me finding purpose. I'll talk about that later. So I was just trying to find purpose and all that. So I then did law. I started while I was finding purpose. I was a lawyer, but then I had my side hustles. But you would also see the restlessness. I was restless. I was restless. Before I went into Femini, I was thinking, what can I do? Because I wasn't really enjoying practicing law. I remember at some point in time, we lived in VI then. So I bought this water tanker. I thought, okay, since we buy water in VI especially, I can just, acquire this water tanker and just supply water to people and make some money. Needless to say, it did not work. Tara was talking about creating demand. There was no way I could create demand for that water. I would be telling people, let me supply you water. Sorry, we don't need water. Are you sure you don't need water? No, I don't need water. Very quickly, I realized that wasn't going to help me. Still restless. And again, I'm saying all this so you realize that you keep trying different ideas until you find purpose, or purpose finds you. Purpose can find you. All you need to do is remain diligent in whatever it is. The Bible said, whatever your hands find to do, do it well. Just do it, continue to do it. Purpose will find you. David was in the backside of was in the wilderness with sheep. When Samuel was looking for the next king, he wasn't there. His brothers were there. They were all rejected. They brought him. They called for him. Someone called for him from where he was tending sheep. Purpose, if you don't find vision, purpose will find you, trust me. But just keep doing whatever you're doing well. So at some point in time, still restless, please, can I see in the chat? Are we learning? Are we learning? Let me just see that. I'm not just talking. Ada, please check for people. What are people saying?
Yes, I'm checking. Someone says, yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. We are learning.
All right.
So much knowledge.
So then I started Feminique. A friend of mine at the time was moving she had a store on Awolowo Road, and she was moving from her shop. I was still a lawyer then, and she wanted to come outside so that she could get more customers, because she'd be more visible. You can imagine, for you to understand how green, how ignorant I was. So she wanted to move from her inner store to the outside so that she can be more visible. And there I was, ready to, she offered me her store. If I was thinking right, if I understood business, why on earth was she moving from her own store? Because she was not visible. And yet I decided to she asked if I wanted, because she realized I wanted to do some business. And I said, oh yeah, you're very excited. Needless to say, that is the first case study of a business that I did not quite understand. The importance of understanding what it takes to run a business. I was so green. I knew nothing about it. The business was just struggling. Because number one, there was also competition. She was right in front of me doing the same thing. I was at the back. We knew the same people. It was just, but that shows an inadequate preparation and also knowledge of business. I'd never done business. The water tanker, needless to say, I mentioned it, there was no demand for it. It didn't thrive. So I went into this. I didn't have the technical know-how. I loved to dress up. I love clothes still today, but that's different from running a retail business. There's a lot involved in that. You have to think of inventory, so many things. Was there a demand for my product? Competition, not just was my friend's shop next to mine, Awolowo Road, lots and lots of shops. Very weak business model. And we've been talking about business models. I want to be able to break down some of these things to you. What is a business model? It is simply how you intend to make money. That is what a business model is. What am I selling? Who are my customers? What value am I going to offer that would make them buy from me and I'll earn money? I didn't have any business model in mind. I didn't, because I didn't know anything about it. I thought I would, I wanted to sell. Then I realized that the things I would wear, without sounding immodest, maybe not everybody would be ready to buy. Then we're thinking, okay, I'll buy the ones for university students. It was just messed up. And a lot of us run businesses like that. We don't have the technical know-how. We don't have the business know-how. We do not understand market demand. We don't look at competition. There's no business model around it. We're just doing it because somebody else started the school. Somebody else started this business. I'm going to do it as well. Needless to say, there was no marketing strategy. There was nothing like that. And at this point in time, I would also like to say something, because I work very closely with individuals who run businesses, but they think it is like a ministry, like it's church. Church is church, business is business. I remember at this time, I had just putting my mind back. I remember I had this bookmarks. It was a Christian bookmark. I'll give it to people. I wasn't running a church. I was running a business. So for those who are here, who will be like, I'm running a school, but it's not really. It's either you are running a school business or you are not. I have many NGOs I work with that I have founded. So it's different. So you're either in business or not. So structural issues, all those things were not put in place. When the foundation is not right, what will happen? Next thing would then be the second case study. After, I think I started Feminique in 1997. By 1999, later in the year, I packed it up. So, of course, Feminique became part of statistics, because statistics say that that 50% of businesses don't last beyond 5 years. By two and a half years, it was over. At that time was also when I took in for my second child after 8 years of waiting. So I was just so happy to just let it go. So because of such, I didn't put all those things in place. It did not succeed, as most businesses do not. If you do not, you cannot cheat nature. Even if it succeeds for a while, it will crumble after a while, or it will just stagnate, and it will be costing you money. So then the second case study would then be Meadowhall. By then I'd learned my lesson. So when I started Meadowhall, I first of all started by doing my market research. Remember, at that time, I wasn't sure if there was demand for it. What was the market share? Nothing. My friend offers me her shop that wasn't, delivering for her, and I took it. But I didn't know what I was thinking. And then I was giving out bookmarks as if, God will just, he will give you strategies as it gave to Joseph, but you need to be listening. Yeah. So then I started Meadowhall. By then I'd learned my lesson. So I started with market research. The first thing I did, and before I go into this, I want to say quickly, talking about purpose. Sometimes in finding purpose, so you can see how I struggled, did a shop, did law, did water tanker. My husband was very helpful, because by then he was one of the people that confirmed what I'd always known. He said to me once, he said, Kenny, you can run a school. I've seen you with the children. You can run a school. I love that you did. You can run a school. And for me, it was a confirmation, because I'd always known when I went into uni, I went in to study education, but I changed to law. So it was for me a confirmation of the strength that he saw in me. So in finding purpose again, sometimes it can be confirmed through other people. Keep trying ideas, confirmation will come from people. And the way God works, when he speaks, God speaks in layers. It will not say, well, he will not say one thing. When Joseph was given a dream, the dream came twice. He bowed, some his sheep were bowing before him. The other time, stars and the moon and sun were bowing before him. He will give you things, he will confirm things. So in layers, you begin to put everything together and it becomes very clear to you. So in that, I'm talking about finding purpose still. So with Meadowhall, I started this time with proper strategic planning. So one thing we talk about is strategic planning. And when I'm talking about strategic planning, I'm talking about the fact that first of all, I said it before, between risk and reward, there's testing. So I started with the summer school. I didn't just start a school. I started with the summer school, you know. I learned I through a lot of introspection, thinking. I remember days I would be pacing in my room at night, not even able to sleep, trying to decide what my unique selling point would be. It's all part of your strategic planning. What will make my school different from the other schools that had started at that time? At that time, my first child, was in an amazing school. Amazing, beautiful, really, really nice school, a Nigerian school at the time. But I wanted more. I wanted the creativity, the teaching methods that would inspire critical thinking and all that. That was very evident in the British schools at that time. I wasn't finding it in my son's school, which was amazing. But then I also then realized that a lot of the children in those British schools, when it was time for common entrance, because not all of them were going to go to secondary school from immediately and go abroad. A lot of them would now be looking for teachers from the school where my son was in. So I realized there was the gap. Why can't we bring these two together, where we have the authentic British curriculum with the strength of the Nigerian? And then I realized, because of who I am, spiritual development of the children. Because when you're running a British school, it's kind of not politically correct to also be doing faith at the same time. Now, the Nigerian schools will talk about faith, 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 but they did not really have the authentic British curriculum or British understanding, an understanding of the English national curriculum. So bringing that together with the spiritual aspect, spiritual development, was a unique selling point for us, because we know in Nigeria, we value faith a lot. And we still want the British curriculum that we're used to. Maybe you're moving from abroad or whatever, and then you still have the values of the Nigerian. That was actually our unique selling point. So I took my time to do my market research. I did a lot of testing, experimentation. When I started the school, I started only up to year 3. I did not go all the way. I found my unique selling point, the value proposition. When we say value proposition, we're talking about what value are you offering people? Why should I choose you? That's what it means. Why should I choose you? So I needed to think. Those things nobody can do for you, dear owner. Nobody, because it has to come from within. It has to come from within. So doing all that, and thereafter, I think I then started so still talking about strategic planning. Another thing was the marketing and branding. You must have that in mind from the get-go. And which is why you would see that all these things are all intertwined. Your strategic planning, your operational processes, the organizational design of everything is all together. That's why you can't copy here, just copy and paste. You can't, because everything is just all there. It's all intertwined. So from the beginning, you are thinking, what is the brand that I want to build? We talked about branding yesterday. What's the brand that I want to build? We know what branding is. It is how you are perceived by others. It's not what you think you are. It is how people see you, which is why it's very important for us to be intentional about showing what you want, but make sure it is authentic, because if you're a fraud, it will not last. So when you say that we want to be a school, British, with the strength of the Nigerian and spiritual development, that was our unique selling point. We needed to promote that. By the time we came up with the vision of the school, you will intentionally promote it. That is how you develop your brand. And that is, it starts from your strategic plans at the beginning. You don't decide after 10 years, okay, so now what is the brand that I want? How do I want to be seen? It's all part of the plans from the beginning. So branding was something I was very, very, I was very careful and conscious of, and not just corporate branding, by the way, because we've talked about, I'm trying to bring some things that we probably haven't mentioned as much. Your personal brand has an impact on your corporate brand. Number one, it will reflect you. When my personal brand, my brand essence would be, I say it's excellence, godliness, and empowerment. And it kind of rub off on my company. It must rub off because your company cannot be who you are not. And then your personal brand will have an impact. We talked about it yesterday. Trust. A lot of people will say, I'm coming there because of you, because I trust you. So you cannot divorce those things, your character, and then you want to say you are running something that is faith-based, or it's just all intertwined. So your marketing, branding, I struggled in marketing, as I said the other day. I really struggled with it because I'm just kind of not somebody that likes to put themselves out there. But then very quickly, thank God for the younger generation as well. Having younger people, I'll talk about succession later. And I got to understand why marketing is so important. And also learned it from the Bible. The Bible says in John, if you do these things, show the world. It is there in John. Jesus' brother says to him, if you do these things, show the world. Why are you hiding? Because when you hide, even the opportunity that people can take advantage of, the children that need it, they would not have access to it because, I'm very humble. That's not humility, stupidity. So I learned to come out of my shell. We began to be a bit more out there. Now, in marketing, another mistake I see a lot of people do, especially schools, we think marketing is putting off flyers. You just put flyers there, admission in process. It is so wrong. Again, I learned that from, my son, who is also, it is so wrong. When you are marketing, you are selling a story. You are selling an experience. That's what you're doing. So if our vision, for example, our vision right now in Meadow Hall is to be pace setters in innovation and the provision of outstanding education in West Africa. When we're marketing, innovation should be seen. So you would see our children using the VR, the virtual reality consoles. You will see a lot of things that even show innovative teaching, methods. So we're very conscious about what we put there. We won't put flyers, admissions. No, we don't do that. Sell an experience. Sell your story. In fact, I like to liken it to when oftentimes to Apple. When you want to buy, please, who has seen an Apple product that says, please buy the watch, this kind of watch? Do you see that? Apple would advertise the product and what it does, the experience you will get from it. You can see maybe an advert with somebody exercising and doing the steps. You can see your steps being counting on the. So sell an experience. Those are part of the things I learned. Strategic plan. So I go to the next thing. That's about Meadow Hall. And then I'll go to scaling. So I started Meadow Hall 2002. And then along the line, I realized there were, we talked a lot about that in the past few days, gaps and opportunities. You must understand that is important to be able to see and identify gaps and opportunities that are before you. You cannot be an entrepreneur. In fact, even an intrapreneur, where you are like an entrepreneur, but within somebody else's business, but you are thinking like an entrepreneur. You cannot be that person if you cannot see beyond your nose. If you cannot see opportunities, gaps, and you just keep going. You're just a manager. That's who you are. So when you must be able to say that. So after starting Meadow Hall 2002, the first other thing I did was Meadow Hall Foundation, because by then I felt God saying to me one day that, what is it if you have 1,000 children in Meadow Hall? How about all these children? When I'm driving around Lagos, I will see children from the public school jumping around, playing. You see them all there in DI. They will be jumping very happily around. And I will be thinking to myself, what did they learn today? How is education going to help them become who God has created them to be? The teachers don't know. They don't know. I'm talking about how many years ago, thank God for Lagos State and what the governor is doing and in some other states as well. So I realized I needed to start, I felt led to start a foundation. I started out in 2007, but then the other companies started, and that is scaling. I started to see the need for some other things. I realized that I needed teachers to be trained. Here I was coming from law. There's a way honestly, I thank God for my legal background. There's a way that you are taught. We understand critical thinking. You understand order. You understand systems. You understand. And I didn't find that. And I also saw this group of people as teachers. Oh, poor me. Poor me. I'm just a teacher. And I'm like, what? As a teacher, you are dealing with lives. As a lawyer, I was dealing with laws and enactments and things like that. You are dealing with lives. Do you understand? So that's how we started Meadow Hall Consult. So again, that is identifying gaps, taking advantage of it. We had, to an extent, the first movers option there as well, because the only person that was doing trainings when we started was Pastor Nelson Ayodele. He was the only one that was really into training at that time. He was a trainer, he didn't have a school. So what I was able to identify immediately was proof of concept. I could train, but I also had the proof of concept. I had a school and I had my teachers. So we went into that. And then gradually, everybody trains now. Everybody, you start your school today, next time you see Richard Crest consult. Everybody is training. And let me say that we must all have that at the back of our mind, because at this age, we shouldn't be getting involved in fruitless efforts. Before you can say you have a consulting firm, have you built a brand? People just think, because in education we say multiple streams. So I just started consult. Everybody's doing consult. Anyway, so we were doing that. That's part of the other things we did. But immediately, again, that's being having foresight. I realized that it was getting crowded. Immediately, we went into getting a proper the license to run a college of education, which would go beyond Orisha Crest Consult Certificate of Training. We wanted something that the government has issued us, given us the authority to run. And that's how we started Meadow Hall College of Education. Please permit me to share this video. No?
I'm very excited today. It's our convocation. Meadow Hall College of Education has been awesome. We learned a lot, impactful lessons. And you know what? I even got to understand that most of the things I was personally doing in the classroom, some of them were wrong. But when I got into this course, I was able to understand the process, the right process on what it takes to be in the classroom. The Benedicta that started this program is not the Benedicta that is graduating. So I am super excited, majorly because of the impact I'm going to make out there.
Aspire to be catalysts of positive change, fostering an environment where minds are ignited and futures are transformed. Together as a community dedicated to the noble pursuit of education, we can inspire a generation that will go on to create a world that we can all be proud of. Congratulations, Dr. John.
All right. So that was a Meadow Hall. So today we have raised the bar. There's something called the barrier of entry. It's not everybody that can say, you know what, I'm going to, but I'm not just training again. I'm going to start a college of education, because you need the infrastructure, you need so many things. So you raise the barrier of entry. The barrier of entry has been raised and just takes us up, just not just with other people struggling for consultancy jobs. And that is scaling. I began to scale. We started looking for some other things that we could do. Now, scaling is different from expansion, and I'll tell you that in a bit. So scaling, we started this company, we had the console, the College of Education, we have Meadow Hall resources, and all these things have the ability to actually become, or in their own right, major businesses. We started, we have a food side, we have a bakery, and all that. We offer food to companies, we do outdoor catering. We had SON come to certify us. Now, scaling, let me talk about scaling, because sometimes when we're not sure of the difference. Scaling is actually when you're using mostly the same resources you have, and you are able to do more with it. When you are scaling, there's growth in revenue, but you are not adding you're not adding much resources. So all these things that we do, all these other subsidiaries, they're all from within our schools, not from outside. So we're not hiring what is it now, renting shops here. So from the same, when you scale, it can be the number of people, your clients you have, and you're thinking, what more can I offer them? That is scaling. Now, expansion is when you are actually going to be investing a lot more money to grow bigger, to earn more. That is expansion. Which takes me to the next thing. I wanted to be telling you the lessons, but I'll go back to the lessons. I'm rounding up soon. So expansion would then be when we decide, when the opportunity came for acquisition. Now, this speaks to the power of network, the power of destiny helpers, the power of financial prudence, because we had a school in Ikoyi by then on a rented property. It was tough. We were off Queen's Drive. The neighbors were like, no way are you establishing a school here. For 1 year, we had paid rent there. For one whole year, we couldn't do anything in the property because we needed to work with Lagos State, and all that. Eventually, we got the permit to run it. But so I knew that getting a permanent site in Ikoyi would be a problem. And then, after, to the glory of God, I've always used debt, not equity partnership. I'll talk about that later. In Meadow Hall, at that time, we had no debt. And I knew it wasn't time to retire. So the next project then was, okay, permanent site for our school in Ikoyi. And then through, who I'll call a destiny helper, I wouldn't embarrass her, she's probably here, and through the power of network, reaching out, not being by yourself, just me, I just love God and I'm alone in my house. No, you need people. God works through people. And through that, we were able to acquire this amazing school, which, the founders had built to a very high standard. But because we're not in education, and to be honest, they just had it. And so they needed someone that they could trust with their vision. And that's how I was able to. Again, this speaks to financial prudence. The only way it was a huge, huge project. It still is. But the only way we could even try to achieve this was because of financial prudence. Remember, I said all the other loans had been paid. If I still had huge loans, wouldn't even be able to afford to take on more loans or to even bring equity or something like that. So this is expansion. As I begin to round up, finally, okay.
Somebody says, please don't round off, madam. We're here with you. Please don't round off.
So growth metrics. So it's good to be able to measure growth. Most of the time we say, okay, what are the growth metrics? And just to summarize, we started with summer school, 24 children. Now, to the glory of God, between the two schools, we have close to 1,500 pupils. That is growth. expansion of staff strength. We started Meadowhall 2002 with 12 members of staff. Now we're about 500 employees across all the subsidiaries and the schools. The financial performance, of course, revenue from when we started was over 2,000%, as one would imagine. There's asset growth, investment, your infrastructure, and all that. That is part of it. Diversification through subsidiaries and even through the acquisition, because the target market is different, slightly different from the target market for Meadowhall, the one at LPSS. So I'm diversifying, which helps your business. And of course, part of growth is having a leadership pipeline and succession. And I put here, there's an unquantifiable metric. And that unquantifiable metric is the feeling of satisfaction that I get when I walk into Meadowhall. Honestly, you would think I'm a star. And it's just amazing. The feel is just so beautiful. And when I get into LPSS, it's just so beautiful, so calming. The staff, the children, it's just such warmth. And what I love to do is what I'm doing, which is school transformation. I truly love, and that's why I'm a transformational leader. Transformational leaders are good for change management. When you need things to change, turn around, you call a transformational leader. So that is a strength that I have, and you can't even quantify that when we're looking at the metrics. So now the last point, second to the last point. Somebody asked me during in the past few days, just getting feedback, that she would have wanted people to talk a little bit more about the internal workings. Because there's the vision, right, that you have, but there's and you know your vision, you know the outcome you want. How do you achieve it? What is it that lies in the middle? And that's where I want to round up. I'll just say one more thing after. I want to emphasize this. The bridge between your vision and the successful outcome you want, and the difference between just surviving or even fading out and thriving, is what we call strategic execution. It's not just execution. You see, execution means I execute, I do something. No, it is doing that thing in line with your goals and vision. That is the difference. So a lot of us as business owners, as business leaders, we do stuff. We would market, but your marketing, as I said, is not tied to your vision. You are not promoting that thing that makes you you. You just put a flyer there, admissions in process. We hire staff. You just, maybe at that time, you need a particular person, you just hire. You look at performance. You're not looking at potential. You're not thinking succession. All these things are all tied together. So strategic execution talks about the ability to execute in line with your vision and what you want to achieve. You don't just do. Your vision is in front of you. So there are 5 things there are many things, and as I say, I train on this. There are many things, but I've just to simplify it to the very, very, very simplest way possible. Clear vision and goal. Our vision is so clear. If you, like Tara said about her organization, and in fact, I remember when she was talking about the Jobberman thing, it was at the same time Meadowhall was nominated or whatever by Jobberman as one of the best places to work. It was at the same time when Tara's company was, and we were chatting and congratulating each other. How are we able to achieve that? Because the vision is very clear. If you were to call anybody in Meadowhall, if I wanted to put people on the spot, I would tell them right now, tell us the vision of Meadowhall. It's in our offices, at meetings, we talk about it. To be pace setters in innovation and the provision of outstanding education in West Africa. The same in LPSS. The same, we are all in line with the vision. And when you have a vision, and even across the group, all the subsidiaries, they know if you wake them up, They will tell you the vision of the particular subsidiary. Now, when you have a vision, your vision must not die with you. Your vision cannot be inside that, which is why communication is one of the most important. Is one of the most important skills a leader must have. You must communicate your vision. When you communicate it and you have goals that are smart, measurable, everybody is running with it. Your vision, you can't keep reading my vision, my vision. No, until your vision dies and it becomes a shared vision. It dies to yourself and is now shared. Everybody starts running with it. That is executed in line with vision. Because what do I want to execute when I don't know the vision? So I'm doing certain things and I don't know why I'm doing it, or I don't even do it at all. So your vision must be clear. Your goals must be smart, and everybody must. Tara says sometimes it's like indoctrination. It is very true. It is very true. Everybody must understand what it is. The next thing for me that has really, really worked is people development. People development. I believe so much in developing people who work with me. I remember when I started Meadowhall, a lot of the people they had never traveled before, we will go abroad, we'll go to schools. I just love to learn. And I believe in developing people. And you know why it's important? If you haven't developed people, how do you hold them accountable? Is that not unfair? But when you develop them, then you teach them, you empower them, you grant them autonomy, more and more autonomy to use that knowledge, and then you can hold them accountable. But we want to hold people accountable, people who you have not groomed. So people generally developing your talent, developing people. Now, when you're developing your talent, make sure that you're not just training them in technical things. It's not, okay, so I'm going to teach them about maths and English. Teach them about non-managerial leadership skills. Everybody in your organization must know how to communicate. They must know how to make decisions. They must have emotional intelligence. Those are non-managerial leadership skills. Everybody must be taught that from your gate man, because if gate man needs to make the decision, should I open the gate for this person who doesn't have the identification card or not? Or they must make decisions. There are most things that are covered by policy, but not all things are covered by policy. For teachers in class, research has it that every 2 minutes or 1 minute, they're making decisions regarding different children in the classroom. So you don't always have the ability to go back to the policy. So there are non-managerial leadership skills that should be taught everybody, apart from teaching them in their technical areas. If you're HR, then learning HR, accounts, you're learning accounts and stuff like that. So I believe in developing people. I believe in talent management, good performance review. And I believe in leadership development. A lot of us focus on performance, but leadership development has a lot to do with potential, developing people's potential. That's where they're able to function in a more complex situation. And then they can be leaders because they can think, they have better decision-making abilities and all that. And that segues into succession planning. How do you want to have successors when you have not developed them? And then you see development, leadership development and succession planning, you cannot separate them. Because if you're going to have people for succession, that means that you have developed them. Process and efficiency, we are very big on this. We are so, it's something that we don't joke with. We have our structures in place, systems in place. We have a quality assurance department, our workflows are documented, SOP, standard operating procedures, checklists, use of tech. We use tech a lot to save time and resources. These are some things that when somebody said, okay, so we've had all this, but how? These are some of the things. There's a lot more. Governance and accountability, we mentioned it all through. Governance, if it is an advisory board, if it is the proper board of directors, have governance. They kind of serve as an overview, oversight. They have oversight roles and control to an extent. You know, they make sure that the leaders, most of the time, when you have issues in a company, check the leadership. They're able to also make sure the executive arm is doing what it needs to do. So governance, accountability, structure, discipline, consistency, compliance, risk management, we all talked about that. Last one that I'll mention will be financial and resource management. How do you manage your resources? Mr. Okeri mentioned it yesterday. Are you one of those that say, accountant, please send me that money? Hey, this, your company is not going to survive that. So how do you plan? How is your budgeting? How do you your cost management, manage your cost? How do you reduce waste? How do you ensure that the revenue coming in is well utilized? There's something I learned when I did this course with Harvard online. It says, slow your burn rate so that you don't get to fume date. Fume date is that day that you have run out of money, as in the bank, there's literally nothing there, nothing there. That's the end of the business. If you can't maybe get somebody to then loan you or bank or get money, you must never run out of money. So it's so important that you manage your finances well, and of course invest. So that, I think, is okay. So the very last one I wanted to talk about is developing leaders. If there's a secret I have, it is that I develop leaders, not followers. I say I'm a leader of leaders. Followers do no good. Followers do me no good. Succession planning is my lived experience. I literally have been out of Nigeria. I've come in and out for close to 1.5 years. To the glory of God, because I have developed leaders, not followers, things are running well. We are not, I have the right people in place. And I did not just hire people, carefully trained them. I'm there, I'm available. We talk. I still have my meetings. I'm still the CEO of Meadowhall Group, which incorporates LPS and all the subsidiaries. But I am very big on developing leaders. And how do you develop leaders? It's not just training, it is doing. Let them do. They will make mistakes sometimes. It is through trial. They will try it. They learn from it. I believe so much, not just in delegation, in giving people autonomy. So when it happened that I needed to take a bit of sabbatical as a mother and a grandmother, to the glory of God, I knew that I needed to face my children and my family for this year that I went on sabbatical. I had already prepared the ground. It wasn't something like, hey, what do I do? Which is why, honestly, people that they can't trust anybody. Hey, my children, my business, they will steal. They will steal. They will steal. You will remain small. So you must learn to develop people, get the right people in prayerfully, and also test it. Kofo said it the other day. So sometimes you look for attitude, but also their technical skills is non-negotiable. Get the right people in, give them autonomy. And so I develop people. Let me say, shout out to my heads, Mrs. Zinka Bafisoye, Mrs. Dipa Hosport, Mr. Emeka Nwani, and all of my directors and, all the people that lead. I remember when we had to do our accreditation, Kobe's accreditation, today, to the glory of God, we got this accreditation from Kobe's, Patrons Accreditation, the first in Africa. I wasn't even around at that time. I wasn't in town. So that is how it's so important to develop people and develop leaders. Give them autonomy, empower them. And that is the only way you can practice succession planning, which is why succession planning to some people is like I'm speaking Greek, because they haven't put anything in place that would help them to groom successors. So that's it. I'm handing over to you. I wear many hats, several hats. I'm still the founder CEO of Meadowhall Group. But succession plans are in process. I am a founder of Meadowhall Found. So Mr. Okere said it, a lot of us, because we have nothing else happening, we can't let go. That's not my case. So I'm the founder of Meadow Hall Foundation. We normally adopt schools and we work with those schools. I'm the executive director of Transformational Teachers Network, a huge network where teachers support teachers. It's a multi-school community of practice that we've built over the years. We're close to 3,000 teachers in the network, and we're even adding more teachers, from another state. I'm part of ERIT. ERIT is Educational Reform and Innovation Team, where we engage, amongst other things, in school transformation in Nigeria. So we're right now in Abia State. We're going to do so many other, we're going to every state in Nigeria because that is what it's all about. That's reform work for us. And I'm so involved in that. I'm a co-founder, CEO of AfriTeach. AfriTeach, you'll hear more about it soon. We're launching soon. It's about transformation in education of teachers across Africa. We're having a soft launch sometime in July. You will get to know it's something that's massive, and I'm so excited about it. I'm founder, CEO of Mid Consulting Services, is a leadership development and coaching company, which is where I do all my coaching, my trainings, and all that. Of course, I have a podcast, the Leadership and Legacy podcast, that I'm so passionate about, where I'm building legacy. I'm close to 60. I know I'm not going to be here forever. I'm building legacy. And then I'm the founder of ABL, A Beautiful Life by Kenny. It's an initiative for women where we teach them about the purposes as God's daughter, as wife, as mother in their career and nation building. So these are the several hats I wear. That's some of my successors, some of them. Sorry if you are on the platform and you are not here. It was the picture I was able to get. These are the people, my Aarons and my hers. They uphold and they cascade, whatever, as I'm interacting with them, rubbing off on them, they're rubbing off on the others. And I get the feedback from people. So part of my succession team. Strategic execution. This is the most important for me. I'm a person of faith. My company, it's faith-based. Even the other organizations I run, it might not be out there to the parents that we pray, but we pray. And then all the subsidiaries. This for me is the greatest strategy you need. You can't do this by yourself. God is the one that gives strategies. He's the one that would lead and guide and direct. And I rest my case with that. I have some nuggets here. We'll send this to you, but you would see consistent amongst everything we've spoken about. Adekwetu started at 840. Research, training, mentoring, relationship, trust, structures, corporate governance, succession planning. She also talked about the multi-generational, idea behind succession planning, innovation, diversification, resilience, risk management, prayer. Kofuaki Kubemi talks about identifying gaps, opportunities, innovation, networking, risk management, be prepared for competition and disruptions, hire the right people, staff development, succession planning, prayer. Tara Duro Toye, structures and systems. You are your own first marketer, risk management, doors of opportunity, scaling, expanding, power of network, innovation, creative thinking, building trust, creating a brand. Don't think small, training, succession planning, prayer. Mr. Okere, relationship builds on trust. You build relationship on trust. Brands are built on consistency, resilience, wisdom, critical thinking, agility, and adaptability. Very important in the 21st century. Don't grow too fast. When we're talking about expansion, don't grow too fast. It can cause you to get to that fume date when there's no money left. It's very dangerous if you're not careful. 2 layers of succession. When we talk succession, most people think it's only about the founder. It's not. It's about the founder and the key roles, key positions in your organization. And then you talked about the way power, the willpower, and the weight power. That weight power is what a lot of us need. We give up after a while. It's not working. No, don't give up easily. You might need to tweak your strategies. You might need to go and learn more about it, but then don't give up. Then God's leading, he mentioned that. And for me, I've talked about all this. I won't go into that again. Okay, so that's it. Let me take your questions, then I'll then just be my own first marketer in terms of
Amazing, amazing. You have lots of claps. Everybody's giving you flowers, beautiful hearts. Everybody's saying, thank you, Dr. Wani. You're simply amazing. If I'd like to read one comment, the person said, Dr. Wani, you can make people see the strength in themselves, even if
God.
they
Thank
didn't
God
know
for that.
that. And that is
Thank
really empowering. I'm a
thank you.
testimony. I'm a testimony for Mental Health. I came in as a graduate trainee, and here I am. When I came in, I remember when you were launching the subsidiaries, and I'm like, Medwall
Yeah.
is really big as it is. Why are we branching in? What are you doing? And I can see why you've done that. And you're not stopping there. I mean, look at the many hats you wear, and you're
Yeah.
really doing an amazing. It's really a privilege to work under you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Dr.
so
Wani.
much.
Somebody asked a question and said, how can you tell if being an entrepreneur is your calling? And also, I'd like to tie that and then just, okay, what advice would you give for, aspiring entrepreneurs?
Okay. Advice for aspiring. So, as we mentioned, I think Mrs. Adefetu also mentioned it. She mentioned it. It's really about testing. You test it. There are certain traits that entrepreneurs are believed to have, but I
Hmm.
think that it's in testing that you would know. So, for example,
Hmm.
risk taking. But even when we talk about risk taking, okay. So even when we talk about risk taking, sorry, I want to see a message. As in showing on. Oh, one not okay, okay, okay. So even when we talk about risk taking, we don't take foolish risks. If an entrepreneur is taking foolish risks, that's not an entrepreneur. That's just somebody who's not wise. So, and how I've said it before, between risk and reward is testing and experimentation. So start small. Are you able? Some people's appetite for risk is so low. I have seen people, especially women, I'm sorry to say, I'm not being who would say, you took 5 million loan. How do you sleep? I'm thinking 5 million? 5 million, you can't sleep. You're not going to go into, because there's something we call OPM, other people's money. Is either from the bank or equity, private equity, or angel investors. You need funds. So some people, maybe that's their calling. They just want to remain small and is only growing organically. It is also good. But risk taking, when you want to launch out, that stepping out can be, for me, I did water tanker, I did business, I did law. Now, to step into this, and running an educational institution is so capital intensive. I used to have panic attacks. I'm not kidding. I used to have panic attacks. I'll be sweating because I'm thinking, hey, Father, you know? And there were so many naysayers, but there were also so many supporters, But I had God and I had my husband and my family. And so you just have to test the waters. That is what I would say. There are certain traits that risk taking is a major one. Problem identification. Are you someone who is able to always spot gaps? A lot of people can't spot gaps. So they miss out on opportunities. So you can see Tara, when she was talking about even all the speakers, they will spot a gap. Then they'll say, okay, I can do this. Then I can add this. So if you're not creative and critical in your thinking, it might be difficult because as an entrepreneur, you must keep innovating. So those are some basic things that you should have, but I would say just test. Aspiring entrepreneurs. I know that from like the back of my hand. Please go and learn. Don't just attend free trainings like this. Go and learn about entrepreneurship, about leadership. After studying getting all the way, from Montessori to PGCI to master's to PhD in education. When I started to do more of leadership, I went back. I registered and did something with Stanford University here in the US, with Harvard in the US. I studied it. I joined John Maxwell. I did a John Maxwell training that made me a leadership coach. So don't try and think you can microwave and what is the shortcut. That's it. The same way you don't expect somebody, like people feel I can do your job, who have not gone for training, and you have gone for training in it. Please go for training. Do more than go to YouTube University by all means. But remember, Tara went to LBS. Ms. Adekwetu did some studying. Mr. Okere did some studying. I have told you all the things I did. So don't just do free trainings and I'm just going to start my own business. It doesn't work that way. It will not thrive. All right. Any other questions that we can
Thank you.
begin?
Yes, we have one that says, how can you make your vision come through with little or no finance? How do you push forward?
Okay. First of all, it's key. Funding is so key. Funding is key. So when you have a vision and a dream, we've all talked about it. Part of strategic planning is having a business plan. Do a business plan. After all, the Bible says before you build a house, you count the cost. Count the cost. Do a business plan. How much do you need? Where are you with your target market? Where is your target market? How are you going to raise funding? Do all that, have a plan. Then you must begin to find ways. Money answereth all things, right? You must begin to find a way of raising money. Friends and family, it could be gifts, it could be loans. You can begin to do things with your gifts. If you know how to bake, for example, little things, you begin to bake, you sell, you are making money. You have a job, you must have a job, you are getting salaries, you are having your side hustle, you are going to do everything you can to make money. Can you create some kind of content? Can you sell some kind of, so you have to raising finance is non-negotiable if you're going to start a business, right? And we must also understand that when you raise finance at the beginning of a business, it is actually ideally, as you expand, you raise another level of finance. That's one thing I haven't quite done because till today, I own 100% of we, the family business, we own 100% of it. But I think it's time to begin to really seriously think of equity. So you need to raise funds. As you expand, you need to continue to raise funds. So raise funds, family, friends, do whatever it is. God said to Moses, what is in your hand? Whatever is in your hand, that tool, start using it to make some money. Get a job. The people that say, I want to do my business, I don't want to work for anybody. Okay. And then you are not working. So where's the money going to come from? Yeah. So that's how you have to get money. You cannot achieve or execute your vision without funds. And then when you start small, but think big. Start small, but think big. Tara says it here, don't think small. Start small, think big. That will help you. Next.
Thank you. Amazing points there. That's small, think big. All right. So someone says, aside from leadership development, what other mechanisms did you put in place before entrusting your business into the hands of your staff?
Okay. So first of all, it would be if you've hired right and you've groomed, and you will begin to identify the people that have fully bought into the vision. Guess what? There can be surprises. There can be surprises. But then you would find that you have some people that you would know with discernment prayer, you would know that these people, in Meadowhall, we have this saying, people will say, I am Meadowhall. I am Meadowhall. So you have, and I spot them everywhere. I remember one day being in my office and I could look I could look through my window. And one of my top leaders was being asked by, I guess, a parent about something. And I saw this person, till today, the person would even know I saw her. The person took the parent there. She didn't say, okay, when you go there, you turn like this. Because they understand customer care is very important to us. Yeah. So you must know the people you are going to pour into. Remember, leadership development. And let me also tell you, it's also like a vicious cycle, because when another thing that happens is when you develop people, you gain their loyalty. We don't know that. So leadership development is where loyalty begins. Before then, they might admire you. You might have a relationship. They might trust you, and what when you begin to develop and invest in people, develop them as leaders, loyalty starts from that. But we want them to be loyal first, then we will develop them because you don't want to lose them. No, it doesn't work that way. So put yourself out, start developing them. Loyalty develops, and then you're able to, begin to think of grooming them for succession. So that's an advice I would give.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Somebody says, how did traveling
Just
abroad
one
for your
more. Is now
MBA? Okay.
sorry? Yeah, go
Okay.
on.
So, all right, let's take this last one, Dr. Wan. Is that okay?
Go on, yes, please.
All right. How did traveling abroad for your MBA in education leadership impact your business?
Okay, so the program I did was a long distance program, even though we had aspects of having to go there and all that. When I did my Viva, I was abroad, so I had instances of I'll be at work and then I'll travel for. So it was more of a long distance kind of program, and so that's why I chose that. I wasn't going to just pack everything up and go and sit in the UK. I had it in the UK, University of Leicester. Just go and sit down there. So I did a long distance, but then it was so intense. I remember days that I'll be in my study at home and put my now what on earth was I thinking? Running a school, running a family, I had a ministry, and then doing the PhD. It took me 5 years. So I didn't do that. But as I said, 1.5 years now, I've been mostly away, and all LPSS, Meadowhall, all the subsidiaries, they are the nothing is perfect. When I was there, it wasn't perfect. Nothing is perfect, but you see the desire to succeed, and they are doing everything to ensure that they don't let me down, they don't let God down, they don't let themselves down. So you must groom people to that extent where you can leave them to run. Empower. Most of the time we empower people, then we don't give them autonomy. So when you empower people, you've trained them, you've poured into them, grant them autonomy. Know when to get out of the way. Know, Mr. Craig said it yesterday. Know when it's time to let other, I think Ndidunelli said it once. Know when it's time to let others shine. A lot of people that joined me at the beginning joined when they were in their 30s. Today they're in their 50s. What am I waiting for? They joined when they were in their 30s. Today they're in their 50s. It's time. Let them shine as well. Let them shine. But I won't just let them shine without preparing them, because my brand is very important. So let people shine. Mr. Okere said, no, when is diminishing returns if I stay there. So I have not totally handed off. I still have my meetings with my team, but they are leading. And honestly, I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed with people I have. All right. Okay. So some messages, if people need to log off, but I just need to answer this. Some of these questions. In your first 10 years, what was growth like? In my first 10 years, growth was so rapid and was so amazing. And people used to ask me, what's your secret? What's your secret? I don't know what people were thinking. What's your secret? Then I remember it was Pastor Nelson that I mentioned before. I would say he's God. He's God. So he said to me one day, he said, Mrs. Nwani, I didn't have my doctorate then. He said, stop saying he's God, he's God. He said, are we not all serving God? What do you mean he's God? No, tell us how. That was when I started putting my story together, explaining to people about structures and systems. And I think because of my legal background, I understand you must put things in order.
Mm.
When you have systems in place, they become replicable. Everybody knows what to do because you have the systems in place. You have put proper structures in place. So that was how I began to. So first year was very rapid. We were on Bashoro Kusoya in Lekki then. Within maybe 2 years, we had another building rented on the same street. The neighbor said, "You have to leave this place. You have to get out of this place because you're causing so much traffic and all that." They were like, "No, you have to leave. And they actually pushed me to my destiny because I then started to look for a permanent site early on. So how long before you got your first permanent site? So within I think by the third year, I started looking for my permanent site. And that even always reminds me, I remember desperately looking for a permanent site. Location matters. Please note it. Location matters. I was looking desperately because my neighbors were like, my neighbor then, she was a Muslim woman beside us. She said something one day. She said, "I will fight you with everything I've got." I'm like, Father, what
Wow.
am I going to do? So I was desperate to move out of them. So one day, now remember, location is the point I'm trying to. So one day, somebody, I think it was my driver at the time. I like to share all these things. He said, "Madam, there's this land. There's this land somewhere, far. It's not too far that I should come and look at the land." So I went to look. It was so far. So I told my husband, God bless my husband. Anybody sees Mr. Nwani, thank you for me. He's been my
Amen.
advisor, my. So one day I said, my husband should come and look at the land. We were driving, we were going. After a while, my husband called me. He was in his car, I was in my car because he was born in the morning. He said, "This is where you want to go and establish a suit." He said, "I'm turning back, Joy. You just turned." Because I was desperate. Don't do things out of desperation, but make sure the location is right. And to the glory of God, we got the perfect location. So yes, by 3.5 years, I started looking because the neighbors, and because of somebody mentioned it, that trust that had built, the reputation, the goodwill had built, and my husband had built. The banks came looking for me and offered us a loan. I remember that time, I think it was 300 million. And we had already saved some money. And that's how I think the fourth, let's say 3.5 to fourth year, early in the year, we started building. By the fifth year, we were ready to move to our permanent site. How can you make your vision come true with little? We mentioned that. How can you tell
Yeah.
it better that? How did you travel? Okay. So all the questions are answered. All right, all right, all right, all right. So before we leave, Auntie Ade, can somebody check if Auntie Ade is around? Tara says, sell, be your first marketer. This is what, as you see, apart from being CEO, which I'm already planning for succession, this are all these things I do. What I love to train. I'm sure you would have noticed that I love to empower, to teach, to train. I have put together courses. I even have testimonials here that people have gone through. Structuring your business for success. That is where a lot of people fumble. It is the weakest, as Mr. Okere said yesterday. So if any industry, leadership is not confined to any industry. Besides, I've been in law, education, and I'm very active in nonprofits. So I understand leadership across. So please register. There's a number there, Princess, just take a picture, register for this course, learn. Don't just go for free trainings and hope it will change your organization. I also organize something specifically for school owners because it's a little bit different. Because with school owners, apart from all the other things, we're looking at academic excellence and holistic development, which is so vast. So there's also and I do master classes and I love to do one-on-ones. And everybody knows my passion, succession management for school, for business continuity. It is being pound, what is it? Something wise, pound foolish when penny wise, I think pound foolish when you establish something and you are not thinking of continuity. How does that happen? And it is not an add-on feature at the end. It is right from the get-go. So if you're starting, you've started, please register for my talent and succession management for business continuity. It's so thorough. It's so thorough. It's like 2 months of working with you to get it sorted. And yeah, these are testimonials. Auntie Ade, share around. So I am a founder of ABL, and I work with amazing mentors. Amazing mentors. Is she around? Can she confirm? Can somebody confirm if Dr. Ellis is around? Is she? Okay. Okay, maybe not. So we have this program coming up.
She's
Is she
here,
here?
ma'am.
She's here. Okay, she's going to talk.
She typed in the chat here. Yes, I'm here, Dr. Adi Ellis.
Okay, she here. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. Ellis, Dr. Loklo Shidikpe. If you guys look at the flyer, you might see a resemblance between me and someone in the picture. And we're having this program on Sunday, the 23rd. It's specifically for women. We're going to be doing, maybe holding another one at some other time for men. So Auntie Ade, our Auntie Ade, she's one of the speakers. She and her husband will be speaking, and we're inviting women. Auntie Ade, are you there? Over to you.
I am.
Fantastic.
So for this session on Sunday, it's going to be interactive, informative. It's going to address all the issues that younger women, middle-aged women, older women, all the questions and issues that you might wish to have answered. And there's going to be lots of resources for you to take away. All I can say is please come and join us. You are guaranteed to have a most informative session, and I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Auntie Ade. I can't wait to receive you all. It's going to be amazing. Right from younger women, older, menopause, premenopause, postmenopause, all the works, everything to do with women and hormones. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that's all. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so the quote, I want to end with this. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. If you want to arrive at a new destination, you need to take a new path. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Dr. Nwani.
We
Thank you
round
so
up.
much.
Yeah.
Well done. Let's say beautiful things about Dr. Wani in the chat. Everybody says thank you for sharing your story, Dr. Wani. It's very inspiring. God bless you.
God,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Mm.
Any activity you like us? Any reflective activity, ma'am?
Yes, yes. I would just say that please don't just run off. I'd like each and every one of us to think all through what we've learned all through the week. And there's something we call the PIG. We call it PIG. So it's really personal improvement grid. So you divide a sheet of paper into 4, and then you have what I want to start to do based on everything you've learned, what I want to stop doing based on the things you've learned, what I want to do more of, and what I want to do less of. It is just a way of bringing everything together so that you don't have this whole week and at the end, oh, it was just good. It was good, and there's nothing to show for it. So it's called a personal improvement grid. More of, less of, start, stop. Divide your paper into 4. All right.
Thank you. We have the feedback. The link to the feedback forms are in the chat. Please do click on the links and then drop your feedback for us. Thank you so much, Dr. Wani.
All right. Adaku, thank you so much. So proud of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So proud of you. You've done very well. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.
We'll see you next year by God's grace. And next year is going to be a physical program by God's grace. Physical, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Bye everyone. God bless you. See you next year. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey.